edition of the Bastard Review. This time around I'm looking at ECW's Living Dangerously 99. This event took place March 21st, 1999 at the Asbury Park Convention Center in Asbury Park, New Jersey. We open the night with a typically okay Taz promo outside, and then Joey Styles does a good job of hyping up the main event, which I'll get to later. Our first match of the night is a great opener as Super Crazy takes on Tajiri in their rubber match. They faced for the first time at Guilty as Charged 99 and then met again at House Party 99, which I remember enjoying a lot, so I had high expectations going into this match. Let me assure you, neither man disappoints. They spend the first few minutes feeling each other out with some brilliantly choreographed mat wrestling. You know, I could spend a whole video listing their moves, and considering a match clocks in just under the 10-minute mark, they make great use of their time. Tajiri performs a nice-looking tilt-a-whirl head scissors, a somersault plancha over the ropes, and a Sai moonsault on the outside ropes, and a German suplex into a bridge cover. Super Crazy wows the crowd with a sunset flip over the ropes, sending the back of Tajiri's head into the elevated ramp, a springboard moonsault onto the ramp, a trifecta of moonsaults from each turnbuckle into a 2 count, and a sit-down powerbomb into a 2 count. At one point, Super Crazy stands on the ropes playing to the crowd when Tajiri gives him a head scissors takedown, sending him flipping over onto the ramp. Both men get each other in a tree of woe at various points, with Super Crazy delivering a dropkick, while Tajiri supplies a baseball slide. Super Crazy slips on the ropes when he botches a springboard attempt, and it's funny because Tajiri points at him, laughing with the crowd. The end sees Tajiri jump on his opponent's shoulders and twist around into a Hurricane Rana, but Super Crazy rolls forward and pins Tajiri with a cradle hold. A really great match, despite a few flaws, and a really great way to open up the show. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Up next, Steve Corino is in the ring, calling out anyone from the back to mockingly prove how hardcore he is. Balls Mahoney answers the challenge, and we get a very short, slowly paced impromptu match. Balls gets in a frog splash and then misses a top rope leg drop. Steve takes over with a spinning heel kick and then a nice looking super kick. Then he teases the crowd using Balls' folding chair, but instead opens it behind Balls and sitting down gives him a short-lived headlock. Clearly upset, Balls rises, gives Steve an Irish whip, a super kick of his own, a chair shot to the head, and then gets the pin. Pretty bland, but Steve does an okay job of riling the crowd. A screwjob win for Steve might have worked better and given Balls a reason to feud with him, though. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. Then Antifaz Del Norte takes on Little Guido in a passable match. Things start off with each man jockeying for position, but it doesn't take Antifaz long to go high risk. A springboard missile dropkick, a running corkscrew plancha over the ropes onto Guido outside, and a springboard sunset flip into a 2 count are some of what we see. Antifaz is on the turnbuckle playing to the crowd when Guido jumps up to his side and gives him a side Russian. I guess in this case it's Italian leg sweep, but he doesn't go for the cover. Antifaz goes for a jumping crossbody from the ring onto Sal outside, but Sal catches him and then falls through the timekeeper's table, crushing him. Sal rolls Antifaz into the ring. Guido comes down on him with a leg drop from the second turnbuckle and locks in a Boston Crab that Antifaz never really taps out to, at least from my vantage point. The best part comes post-match when Tracy Smothers and Tommy Rich, who recently split from the FBI, attack Guido and Sal. Still, this is something that should have been on hardcore TV to build up to Smothers versus Guido at this pay-per-view. It's a wasted opportunity. I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. After that, Rob Van Dam defends his ECW World TV title against Jerry Lynn in the first of what will be a string of monumental matches throughout the next couple of years. Seriously, if you watch this show for only one match, this is it. At one point, Jerry has Rob in a headlock, which Rob counters into an Irish whip. On the way back, Rob leapfrogs over Jerry and then goes for a split-legged drop, but Jerry ends the momentum and instead comes down on Rob's head with a leg drop in a very seamless, fluid motion. You can really tell that both men are willing to work together to put on an entertaining match. There's a really nice spot where Rob goes to give Jerry a monkey flip onto a waiting chair, but Jerry moves out of the way. Rob lands on the turnbuckle. Jerry jumps up on the ropes and gives Rob a sunset flip onto the chair instead. He immediately rolls Rob into a pin, but only gets a 2 count. Moments later, Rob goes for a Northern Lights suplex that Jerry counters into an inverted DDT onto the chair, and another 2 count. There's an unneeded high-risk move early on where Jerry does a springboard spinning crossbody onto RVD in the first row, but for the most part they either keep it in the ring or just outside it. Rob goes for a springboard on the top ropes when Jerry drop kicks into him and sends Rob landing on the guardrail face first. Later, Rob whips Jerry into the guardrail, then jumps up and does a leg drop. Then he hops onto the guardrail and does a dive onto a rising Jerry. Rob shows off a nice surfboard submission, then sends Jerry up into the air and rolls out of the way as Jerry comes crashing down onto a folded chair. All this is just the tip of the iceberg, and I have no plans of spoiling the ending. My only minor criticism is that there is no build-up or history, like building Jerry as a threat to Rob's title. Heck, Jerry wasn't even on the previous pay-per-view, guilty as charged, so you don't really know what to expect, but if by the end of the match you're not hooting and hollering, you might have to check your pulse, buddy. Match of the night for sure, and certainly a contender for a match of 1999. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Up next, New Jack takes on his former gangsta partner Mustafa in what amounts to 9 minutes of them hitting each other over the head with various items and taking a tour of the auditorium. The highlight is when New Jack goes to hit his opponent with his signature guitar, but the neck breaks before he can bring it down. Whoops. The end is what you expect. New Jack climbs to the balcony and does a suicide dive onto Mustafa lying on a table. Even if you go for matches like this, it's just really lacking any dramatic emotion to draw you in. New Jack wins way too easily. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. Post-match, the Dudleys attack New Jack and then cut a promo offering an open challenge to which Spike Dudley and Nova accept, and I guess we get another impromptu match. Bubba Ray launches Spike into the crowd a la Bam Bam Bigelow, which I find kind of stupid. Do it once or twice, but now it's just a cliche. Kind of like New Jack's suicide dives from the balcony. They just barely manage to catch him because Bubba undershoots the throw. What gets me is that Bubba Ray says there's no one left that can beat us. So if that's the case, why aren't they tag team champions? Obviously they aren't as good as they think. You know, it would be one thing if it led to them facing RVD and Sabu at the next pay-per-view, but that never culminates. Rob loses to Bubba on TV and the Dudleys gain the title the following month. Sid Justice comes out and surprisingly the crowd cheers him as he beats the Dudleys up, which I find kind of amusing considering Sid has zero talent or charisma. My fellow New Jerseyans shame me. Spike gets back in and gives Bubba Ray an acid drop for the win. Sid attacks Spike for no apparent reason. I guess he's psycho. Well, I'm bored. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. After that, we get a match with an unusual story as Tommy Dreamer and Shane Douglas team up to take on Just Incredible and Lance Storm. This came about when Shane announced his retirement and planned to elect a new franchise to carry on the name in ECW. Both Justin and Lance laid claim to the title, but Shane declined both of them, instead saying that Tommy would be his choice. Now, Tommy seems like an odd choice considering the storied history between him and Shane. I would have expected someone younger and someone Shane could have championed and mold. Still, it's an interesting matchup, and at the time, I was eager to see what it would offer. Both teams do very well working with each other. Tommy whips Lance while tagging in Shane, then sends Lance down with a drop toe hold, and Shane goes right into an inverted rolling death snap. Later, they give Justin a side slam elbow drop combo into a 2 count. Lance and Justin play heels very well, taking advantage of situations to gang up on Shane and then later on Tommy. Lance gives Tommy a really impressive one-handed delayed vertical suplex, but instead of going for a pin, he tags in Justin. There's a funny moment where Shane convinces Lance and Justin that the three of them could be the new triple threat, but it's all a ploy as he gives them a double clothesline. We even get to see a short catfight between Francine and Dawn Marie. Shortly after, Francine brings in a half a ladder for Tommy to use on Justin while Shane gives Lance a crossbody into a 2 count. The end is pretty obvious. Shane pins Justin after giving him his signature Pittsburgh plunge, a fisherman buster. All in all, while it was a by-the-numbers match, it's still entertaining. I just expected something bigger for Shane's ECW Swan Song match. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Finally, we come to the main event. Taz defends his ECW World Heavyweight title while Sabu defends the FTW Heavyweight title in a unification match. If you've never heard of the FTW title, well, there's a valid reason. It's not really a title. Originally, it was a belt Taz carried around back in '98 when he was unable to challenge Shane Douglas for the world title. Sabu won it in December when Taz intentionally covered himself with Sabu, and then a month later Taz beat Shane for the world title. Why exactly unify them when the FTW means nothing? Good question. It's a joke storyline that really shouldn't be the main event regardless of who's involved. Sabu should have just destroyed the belt and said he was coming for a real title. Sabu doesn't seem to be working at 100% as he injured his jaw a while back and put off surgery to have this match. He still manages to pull off some high-risk dives, which impresses but makes me wince at the same time. They fight out into the crowd for a couple minutes, which is always fun, but thankfully they're back to the ring before long. Sabu sets up a table between the mat and the guardrail and gets into the ring, setting up for a spot where Taz gives him a belly-to-belly suplex over the ropes and through said table. Then there's what looks like a botch when Sabu goes for an Arabian powerbomb on the outside. Taz holds onto the ropes while Sabu gets his feet caught in the metal guardrail, and when Sabu drops down, he hits the back of his head on the ring edge. The end sees Taz retain via his signature Taz mission, a half Nelson choke with body scissors, which really doesn't surprise me. While it's nowhere near as great as their barely legal match, it's still a perfectly acceptable one, and allows Sabu to come back for a rematch when he's fully healed. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Overall, Living Dangerously 99 is an above-average show. While there are 2 matches you should really check out that have a lot of potential, the high-profile ones just don't live up to what they could have been. Add to that some matches that would have been better off on television, and it just becomes typical. I would have shuffled some stuff around and really given Shane the send-off he deserves. I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. Thank you for listening. Please tune in again when I review another wrestling DVD in my collection or anything else that crosses my path.